say hello now. Not expecting me, expecting you. Two hearts beat as one. The inquiry's done. I found emotion through your devotion. You bring me to life. Never had anyone, found anyone, thought anyone loved someone like me. Someone like me, girl. What taste of your kiss sends me in orbit, twisting, turning out of my control. So glad you found me, my Aphrodite. Bliss is burning deep inside my soul. Not this time, this rhyme is all about you, girl. Something tells me I'm in love with you. Open up the door and say hello now. Not expecting me, expecting you. Two hearts beat as one. The inquiry's done. I found emotion through your devotion. You bring me to life. Never had anyone, found anyone, thought anyone loved someone like me. Someone like me, girl. Two hearts beat as one. The inquiry's done. I found emotion through your devotion. You bring me to life. Never had anyone, found anyone, thought anyone loved someone like me. Someone like me, girl. Two hearts beat as one.
Ho, what's up, gang?
Hey, happy Friday. Happy hot as hell day.
Happy hot
Oh
as
my
hell.
goodness
Ooh, it's
sakes.
bad.
If we pass out, it's because it's a little bit warm in here, so
Even
bear
here, it's
with
been on
us.
for hours. It's still warm in here.
And it's still warm in here. Hope everybody had a great week. We had a good week. Tomorrow we are doing our dance, the luau for the Harvest Moon committee put it together, and looking forward to that. Jackson has her little grass skirt ready. She's gonna be dancing the night away.
We got Larry tonight, and Larry will be at the dance tomorrow, working the kissing booth as usual.
Yes.
Brought my own lipstick too, in case you forgot. You
Chapstick.
on all week.
There you go. We have coming up is August, right around the corner. It's pretty scary. It's coming up way fast. So, like, the summer's ending, and I hate it. Sorry, my hair. We had the fan on, and it's a mess. So,
You said every week it's bad your hair. You think people didn't look at your hair?
but
Harry, your hair, yeah, Harry.
I should put more
Larry, your hair
gel on.
looks great.
Yeah, I should
Keep-
put more gel on this side.
yeah, keep checking my page, because August is Overdose Awareness Month, and August 31st is International Overdose Day. There's going to be a lot of walks, a lot of events in the areas. So if you have one, please send it to me so I can post it and, get some walks and some events that have tables that will help with, just getting some education on substance use disorder and the families that need the support. So check that out. Keep coming back to the page for upcoming events coming. I do know the Pink Elephant Walk is coming. That is through Kensington, I believe, and that is on my page, and I'll repost it again tomorrow so that everybody knows, because I think the time to register is coming up if it
That
hasn't.
ain't pink elephant.
Already.
What's that cartoon? That's what you seen when you were hammered. You seen pink elephants. Gotta come up with something better.
Maybe that's why.
So that's coming up. So check that out. It's a really huge event, and I know that the PROAC Walk is coming. However, it's going to be a little different this
John
year.
wants to know who the guy in the middle is. That's Larry. That's our great friend of the show, Larry.
Those. Sometimes I wonder who I am. Yeah, half the time.
He's our good friend.
He is our good friend, and he is here to talk the gifts of recovery. And he just spent an awesome time with his kids, and he's going to be discussing that as well. Just sharing out the show. If you are struggling and you want to ask any questions or ask for some support, and you have the ability to pop it into the comments, please do so. If not, we have the call-in line at 267-737-8031. Feel free to pop in there. Give us a call. We'll be happy to, answer any questions or share our experiences.
Inhale Satan.
So, with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Larry, and he's going to share a little bit about what he's been going through and share his latest experience and gift of recovery. Take it away, Larry.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Larry, alcoholic, and so it's Saturday was 6.5 years, and I'm going to do an all over the place report on what it was like from then till now. And I went to a Zoom meeting last night, and the topic was, it's easier to be slacking, to do your work slowly, and it's harder to stay drunk. It's something like that. It's like, just do the work. In the beginning, like with me, I was gung-ho, I'm going to be Mr. Sobriety, and I'm going to do all this and all that. And at the time, it gets pretty boring. So at some point, it gets pretty monotonous, and that's the doldrum part of where I had to work my way through that part. I found that it wasn't a race. There's no finish line in sobriety. It's just keep moving, keep working, fast, slow, whatever it takes. But and this topic too was like, it was more work for me to kind of stay drunk. And it just wasn't getting up and drinking. It was like, before I totally hit the bottom, didn't care anymore. But it was the lying, the conniving. Where am I going to get the money? How am I going to tell these people, that I'm not drinking, and going through all the self-pity and the guilt and all. It was a titanic pain in the ass. I mean, basically. And, I found out, especially at this meeting, that even working slowly on my recovery is still working it. Like I said, there's no sprint to the end, because there is no finish line in sobriety. It's just a continuous pace that one keeps. Some do it faster than others, but doing it is the main thing. And as time went on, it took a couple years. I've said this before at other meetings, that it took a couple years for me to start finally feeling better about myself and opening up everything. The whole world started to open up for me, family and friends. 99% of the time I talk about my children and all. We go out, we go to concerts, we go out to dinner, and this past, couple weeks ago was a highlight of my sobriety, the best thing I ever did in my life. 6.5 years ago, I couldn't afford $1 beer. And here I was paying for a vacation to the Canadian Rockies, fly into Vancouver, take the train for 3 days, and then go on different trips. And did everything top notch. Took the best train car, the best hotels. I mean, these places look like castles. And I couldn't believe, like, this is what happened in 6.5 years of sobriety and keep working it. I never ever dreamed it anything like this could happen to me. And as far as my children go, they absolutely loved it. They were like amazed. You know, just riding on a train, and like everything was first class. The meals, the rooms we stayed in, and the best thing was the time we spent together. Going up the mountains in gondolas, going to mountaintops, getting a view, and did a little lake cruise, and all the scenery, and just, you know, the tightness. You could feel the bond. You could feel how tight we were together, and we were having a blast. And, you know, going all through Canada, and the last day, I have to bring this up. The last day, we did our morning thing, and it was the afternoon. The next day, we had to leave to go to the airport. So I got on Lori's show last Friday, and my kids said, "Oh, we're going to go down, you know, walk around and all." So they get on the elevator. It goes down a couple floors. The doors open up. Who walks in but Wayne Gretzky? And they're like, "Oh my God!" You know, my son says, "You know, hello, Mr. Gretzky." I mean, it was like the cherry on top of the sundae. Doing all the things in Canada and going to the Rockies and the outdoors and seeing all these animals, and there's like the cherry. It's like seeing Wayne Gretzky. You know, Canada's biggest export, we'll say, biggest attraction, and they loved it. You know, they talked for a couple
Canadian
minutes.
bacon was their biggest attraction.
no.
My
It's hockey. And since we're like a hockey family, they were like stunned. They
Awesome.
just loved it. And it's the gradual build, the gradual rewards of what happened. You know, that I get, and even my children get. I mean, they got to see. You know, they're seeing a sober father now. They see a guy who takes them out, who loves them. Well, we always loved each other, but they see, you know, me straightened up and just working my program. They know I go to meetings all the time, and I share and I chair. I do whatever it needs to do because I need it. I need it every day. Some people, you know, they do 1-2 meetings a week. Not me. I do 1 or maybe 2 a day. 3 on Friday if you count Lori's show, and I love it. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic, the life I'm living now. And for the people who, like, especially in the beginning, it was tough in the beginning. After that initial hurrah, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to be Mr. AA, and then the kind of boredom or doldrums seek in, and then you realize I have to go to a meeting, I have to do my steps, I have to do this. You know, that was, you know, kind of boring. It was like I was hitting the wall. But the thing is, I kept going. I might have slowed down a hell of a lot, but I just kept going and going, and then it started to pick up momentum again. When I started to feel different inside me, and people outside saw a difference in me, and it all kind of added up. And today, you know, that's interwoven in my life. And, you know, and like the rewards, sure, you go out, you go to dinner and all. But like one of the biggest things was after the trip, my daughter-in-law picked us up at the airport, went over to their house. Then my son-in-law picked my daughter and I up at, you know, my son's house and drove me to my daughter's where I spent the night. But the thing is, like, when I said goodbye to my son, you know, I give him a hug, man, he crushed me. You know, I thought my nipples were going to come out my back.
Oh, hey
yeah,
now.
so, I mean,
Oh,
just to
hug.
feel that, you know, we've hugged before and all, but this was an intense, real squeeze because he loved it. We had such a great time. And the next day, same thing with my daughter, said goodbye, you know, went home and just reveled in it. It was like, wow, I can't believe what I just did. I can't believe that I paid the freight for this, where before I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't afford anything. And to have them, and they loved every second of it. We were all like, our jaws were hanging out from all the scenery and just everything about what we did. Walk on a glacier. Who says, you know, I walked on a glacier? Well, we did. And like I said, 6.5 years ago, I couldn't afford ice cubes, let alone a glacier. And, you know, this is the part of recovery. This is like down the road. You keep one keeps working it. I kept working it, and yeah, things just get better. I'm elated. I'm in a very good place now, and I just hope that people who are starting this program realize that it's not going to happen in a snap. It's definitely, for some maybe, but for most, no. There are going to be struggles. There are going to be times you're going to be faced with something that might lead to a drink or question your ability to, or one's ability to go through this program. But if you stay with it, and the best thing, one of the better things too is don't isolate. Don't try to do this alone. Get a sponsor. Go to a meeting, even if it's a Zoom meeting. You have people, you search around for the meetings you like that you feel you fit in. And then as you get to know these people and they get to know you, it's a nice tight bond. And you can, it took a while for me, but I opened up, said what I had to say, said what the feelings I had that day, what's going on in my life. It doesn't always have to be about drinking and sobriety. It could be something that's happening in your life, good, bad, or indifferent. And especially if it's a good thing. You share with other people, like I share with this about this trip. Like, here's recovery. Here's what it did for me. This could be you. Not necessarily going on a trip to Canada, but just having a better life. Even if it's just go down the shore or go away, by yourself or with friends, people, family. But it's the feeling, it's that good feeling you get and the confidence one gets. Because, I knew, I was headed in the right direction. And, and if I stay the way I'm going now, it's only going to get better. When I think it's not going to get better, it does get better. In fact, talking about trips, next year, the Phillies are playing the Mets in London. And we're looking at that, and it's June 8th and 9th. June 8th is my birthday, June 9th is my daughter's birthday.
June 6th is Richard's.
Yeah, June 6th is my brother's birthday, too.
He's going to
London
take you to
birthday.
London,
Yeah,
son.
so, and it's like, here's the planning. Whether we go or not, we don't know. But it's all because of sobriety, because I crawled out of that hole, tried to straighten my life out, and things come to me. Good things came to me. Great things came to me. And, it's just got to keep plugging. You got to keep plugging. I know times where it's hard, it's tough. But if you just keep the horse blinders on and just go do it.
We
I'm
have a
telling you.
question for you.
Okay?
John Doe. Larry discussed concerts. He's wearing a Jethro Tull shirt. Even though they stole the Metal Grammy from Metallica in 1989. Since he is a music fan, are there any songs that reflect his recovery?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ozzy Osbourne. There's a song called Demon Alcohol. It's a song about the alcohol talking to you, saying I got you. You're not going to get away. Let's party. No matter how many times you say you're going to quit, you're not going to quit because I have you. Just take me by the hand. Demon Alcohol. I'll get you. That's in the beginning of the song. And Suicide Solutions, another one by Ozzy, where he talks about drugs and alcohol. Like people giving up and just want to die and can't do it. And there's another one too by a band that's not real famous. It's called The Amity Affliction is the name of the band. But the video is all effed up. You know what the F is. Got to watch the video. And there are lines in there, there are people in there, and I saw myself pretty much on both sides. I saw myself in the beginning of this video as the drunk, staggering around all over the streets, falling down, going into bars, and calling people for help. I get down to one friend, and this person's friend wouldn't answer. So he gets all frustrated. He still gets loaded. He goes from 2 beers that's sitting at the bar to empty bottles at the chair at his table with a whiskey bottle. And, he finally, he says, he's given up. He's going to hang himself, because he figures it's the end. He couldn't take it anymore, but he couldn't get anybody to, come to his aid. And his friend his last friend was walking by, and there was this priest on the corner preaching, had the Bible, and he said, like, you know, save yourself, but don't give up on your friends. Save yourself, but don't forget your friends. And that kind of hit him. And as he walks by the church, there's like a choir of 5 dirty boys, you know, dirty kids with dirt all over their face, you know. Will you save me now, or will you say goodbye? And that kind of hit him too. Because here's a person now who could reach out and help this other guy, you know, save his life. And at the end, near the end of the video, the addict alcoholic has the rope around his neck, and he has the rope on the ceiling fan, and the guy sees him as he's going in, you know, at the front door, and he's screaming, breaks the door down, and grabs him by the legs, and the video's over. But you don't know if the guy killed him, it was already dead, or he saved him. But it's just the idea of, like, here you go, you know, will you save me now or say goodbye? And that's the me who got better, you know, passing it on to the next person. Because it doesn't stop with me. The whole idea of AA is, you know, you get what you can, get what you get, and pass it on to the next person. Because you don't know what you say. Could be one sentence, could be, you know, a paragraph, could be a whole book, but it might strike a chord, strike a nerve with that person who will get interested and talk about recovery and try to save himself. But if you do nothing, if one does nothing, there's pretty much only one end, and that's the dead end. That's death. And so it's, you know, it's songs like that that keep me inspired. There are other ones, I just can't think of them right now. But, you know, the songs that, you know, I like that Demon Alcohol, that's great, because it's like alcohol making fun of me, saying, I got you, there's no way in hell that you're ever going to get away from me. No way. And stuff like that, you know, those songs, they do more for me than probably, you know, reading the big book that I've read. You know, I have readings every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We go to the big book every Monday. But it's the music. I'm a music freak, and I love
Yes, he
the hard
is.
rock and the snakes and the bats and the coughing on my fingers. I'll give you some idea. But whatever it takes, see, it's whatever it takes one to be sober. Some people, they do the God thing, they love it. God this and God that. Great. Are you sober? You're happy? Fine. And I go to agnostic and atheist meetings, and they don't God at all, but they're sober and they're happy. And hey, the bottom line is, you know,
Whatever it takes.
yeah, straighten one's life out. And it's working for me. I've been to religious meetings. I don't get all upset and bent out of shape, but when I was in a recovery house, we went, we had to go to meetings, and whatever ones they took us to, they took us to. Some were really overly gaudy, but it's not my place to say. It's not my meeting. I'm not running it. I don't have anything to do with it. I just go and I listen, and
And you take what you want and
Yeah.
leave the rest behind.
Yeah.
That's like the most important thing when you're doing this recovery, whether you are the person that is in recovery, that is struggling, or the parent or the spouse or a family member or a friend. When you're in these meetings, it's a matter of taking what you think will work and think will help you and leaving all the rest behind, because not everybody is going to feel comfortable with some of the suggestions that are offered, but taking what you feel will help you and working with that. And if it doesn't, then pull from the hat another suggestion you may
Yeah.
have heard. So that's the important thing, that's what you take. And Eric is in the house, Emma's in the house, Barb is in the house.
And Babby's in front of the air conditioner.
Babby is blowing air
It's hot.
around him, thank God.
it's not hot air,
I'm glad I took
it's
a
cool
shower.
air. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Well, whatever works. That's the
Work
idea.
it.
That's the whole
The ISO
idea.
room's
Whatever's
comfortable
working for
than
you
air.
to straighten your
Yeah.
life out, do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. Don't worry about what the outside people say, because friends, family, people like it, people don't like it. They all have their own suggestions, but you
Mm-hmm.
have to make up your own mind what's going to work for you.
Right. And that's the important thing, because, you know, when I first started going into these meetings and listening to some of the shit people were saying, I'm like, what, these people are morons. Like, why would you do that? Why would you say that? And, you know, the longer you go to the meetings, the more you start understanding what they're actually trying to share with you and suggest for you. It's not necessarily what you're hearing in the beginning. So, you know, that's the main thing when you're in a meeting, what you're taking out of it. If you're really just sitting and listening, you really hear the message that's coming across. If you're there to get answers on how to save someone, you're probably in the wrong place at the wrong time, because it's within you. It's, you know, it's within our loved ones to get that moment of clarity and moment of you know, recovery.
Yep. Save yourself, but don't abandon your brothers and sisters, like I said 5 minutes ago. One has to do them. So I had to do me before I go out. You know, I'm not going to say the world. I just say what I have to say, spread my message. And it's a few people. I've talked to them, and, you know, they understand where I'm coming from. It's not exactly what you know, what they did is not exactly what I do, but they understand. They get, you know, get that little light bulb that goes up in their heads, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then they start working their program. Not mine, they work theirs.
Right.
But-
And it's so weird, because when you're first in it and you're hearing like the family members, like, oh, well, you know, they don't feel they need AA or NA or any of the other A's or, you know, whatever program. They don't really feel comfortable there, and they really don't feel they need it. And the funny thing is, you know, maybe the third, fourth, fifth, eighth relapse or recovery is when they say, I realized that it took the program and for me to open my heart and my mind and accept the program. And that's the most important thing, that, you know, that's what happens. It looks like Pappy's going in.
Well, I say over here, man, it's stifling in here. It's horrible.
So, you know, it's, you know, when they're sitting there and they're working their program, it's really not going to get them where they need to be. Working their program is, you know, an a la carte. I'll do this, I won't do that. I'll do this and I won't do that. It's when you start working the programs and you start getting sponsors and you start getting, you know, picking up the phone or answering the phone and listening to people calling you out on your shit. That's when you start working the program, and that's when you start listening, and then you start taking those suggestions. And that is, you know, a big, huge, scary step.
Yeah.
It's that first step, you know, walking in. It's the first step, taking that suggestion.
And people calling you out on your crap too. It's like I go to meetings, especially in the beginning, you hear the same story from the same people. And sometimes it gets a little frustrating because here we go, he's going to say this. But in the end, that's that person's story. You know, you might hear it 10,000 times. You could say what you know what's coming beforehand, but that's their story. That's, you know,
Right.
sure it gets to be a little bit of a pain in the ass listening to it all the time, but hey, I repeat it too. I mean, I can't change my story 40 different ways to make it interesting.
Exactly.
I just like when we have readings and all on a particular subject, you know, I just stick to the subject, and people some people they wander off, and you know, instead of staying on the subject, they wander off. They pretty much hit the same story again. But you know, what are you going to do? Be a critic? You know, walk in their shoes, and then
Right. John Doe shares, I give you a lot of credit for going into a recovery house at your maturity. There was no way I was going into one at 38 years old. Hey, Margie. And Barb, here's Barb. My husband is, are you about done with these meetings? I'm like, no, absolutely no. This is, until you're strong enough to, and feel comfortable enough to not attend meetings, not pick up the phone. You have to stay connected. I mean, that's recovery.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I took away from the meetings that I would attend. When they would bring in the patients and a speaker, and you hear them saying, I'm back here for the 5th time because, I never really, I stopped going to meetings. I stopped picking up the phone. I stopped talking to my sponsor. I started doing me, and that's when the relapse hits. That's when, you start losing that strength. And, some people can do it, but some people really need that time to stay connected. That's why they call it a we program, because it takes, like they say, a village. It takes a village.
Yep.
And you become a family. And I know that's so oversaid, but it's true. It's absolutely true. I've kept my boundaries so high that my loved one has even blamed his last relapse on my cat dying. The excuses are old, and I was a sucker to believe any of the lies. I really just pray for him now. Christy says, I've been told when you're missing meetings, you're missing drinking. Yeah. It is so helpful. It's a me time. Yep. It is absolutely a me time. It's, you have to stay plugged in until you're strong enough, especially depending on how long you've been doing it, the drug of choice, the drink of choice, whatever. Especially when it's alcohol, because alcohol starts a lot of times at 13 and up, and, it becomes a real problem by the time you're, leave high school. So, that's really hard because it starts so young. Actually, drugs are really starting super young as well. But, a relapse happens the minute they leave recovery. If they weren't in it to win it, they're already gearing up for the excuses on why they relapse. Well, I relapsed because you didn't trust me. I relapsed because you made me go to too many meetings.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse when they're not ready for that recovery. And a lot of people, when you do see the going in the revolving door, it's because they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it to get the mom and dad off their back, the husband or wife off their back, the friend off their back. And that's why a lot of people take that first step, just to shut people up. And they're not in there. They're not, doing the program.
Yeah. And, I was a first-time failure. Got out of rehab, did nothing. I went to a couple of meetings. Never did the worker sponsor. Of course, I went back drinking again.
Right.
And somebody's talking about my mature age and going to rehab at 38. Trying the mid-60s when I went, yeah. And, but I didn't care. It's something I did right out of the living room, right in the recovery house. And did everything I had to do, Grandpa Larry there, I just didn't care. I needed to get sober. I needed to work on myself. I couldn't do this by myself. I needed all the help that I could get. Whatever worked, I was willing to take any kind of advice, listen, and before I can, like I said, there were days, especially when after I got out of there and was living alone in my house, when I felt finally strong enough to live alone, and, you know, and not have the urge to drink. But I kept going to meetings. I kept going to work. It was the discipline too.
Yeah.
Not, you know, it's not just about recovery. It's about everyday life too. Getting up, catching a 4:20 a.m. bus to go to work. You know, I had no car, I had no license. SEPTA to go to parole. SEPTA to go to my IOP. SEPTA to go to work, back and forth every day. Getting home late, getting up early, and going to meetings, you know, almost every day in between. So it was like, how bad did I want it? And, you know, in hindsight, all those things helped me, because in the end, the minor stuff comes back. You get your license, you get a car, and you're back, you know, things will start working, get the breathalyzer in the car, big deal, you know, just part of the progression. But I did the couple years of doing what I had to do, doing what needed to be done. And now it's like all water under a bridge, you know.
It is, and you know, you just have to do what you need to do. And that's another thing, like we hear a lot in the meetings. It's like, oh, well, they can't go to that recovery house because they don't drive. Well, I'm sorry, but Levittown is like covered with buses. The train is right there. Like, there's no excuse. You know, you can get them a bus pass or, you know, a train pass.
Yeah, I did that every day, except like I said, on the train. And then when I went to Emily's house, when they said, well, you could, when court ordered me back in the city, then they said you could go out of the city. So I went, my second second recovery house was Emily's house. I was even farther away than the one I was at before. And that was a bus, a train, or two trains, or a bus deal. It was like, it was insane, but it was all part of, you know.
Right.
And it's the wasted, you know, and what I regret is the time. There's another song too, Crosby, Stills and Nash. It's Wasted on the Way. It's about all the time I lost because of my drinking. All the fun I could have had, all the stuff I could have, you know, accomplished. And it's like water under the bridge. It's just time wasted on the way. And now, you know, I'm 72, and I'm going to squeeze every bit of life I can out of my, you know, what's left of my life.
Right.
I want them out. I want to have fun, and alcohol's going to have nothing to do with it. And I'm going to do things, you know, just like this trip I had. I had other trips. I have things in my head now that I want to do now that I'm sober. I can't turn back that clock, but I can sure make what's coming up a lot better than what it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, and it's hard because when you're coming out of recovery and, you know, you're right in that pink cloud, they call it, you know, then life starts attacking you. And you're not reaching out for that help. You're not reaching out for those that have been there, have done it. You're going to find yourself, good night, John. We're going to find yourself right back where you were. Like, it's important that you stay connected so that you can learn how to manage those life situations, because it's, you know, so difficult when life starts to suck in. And it sucks because even a person that doesn't have a substance disorder can get caught up in all of life. You know, life can really suck some days. And, you know, to be in recovery and be able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody that's been through it, that, you know, got through it, and can share their experience with somebody that is struggling and get them back on track, that's a beautiful thing, because people that haven't been part of this situation really just has nobody to turn to, because they don't have the support group like we do. We won't go to, you know, moms and dads or aunts and uncles or grandparents to say, hey, listen, this is what's going on, because we don't want to worry them. where when you're in a support group, and even though the support group is all about, a loved one, and their, recovery, other shit comes through. And when it comes through, they have a connection, they have a lifeline that they can contact and walk them through it and gear them in the right direction. So, that's awesome. And I'm sorry, Barb, but 59 is not old. 59 is very young. Very young.
It's all up here.
Yes. Like, you're only as old as you feel. I'm 59 with a 92-year-old body. So,
No comment
You-
there. I won't
you
say anything
just-
about, I worry about my body. I don't make.
you just live life and you just take it as it
Yeah.
comes. That's the most important thing. I wish Richard Pappy was sitting back there because he was blowing some of the cold air
Yeah.
around him. Pappy petered out. He's too large for this heat, so he went into the air conditioning, the real air conditioning. So it is pretty stifling warm in here.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say something about the pink cloud, too. I consider the pink cloud is not reality. It's just you get out, you feel good. The first time around, I felt good. I feel really good about myself. And the pink cloud's here, reality's here. And then they meet, and then life's problems start. And all of a sudden, that pink cloud kind of disappears, and frustration and aggravation. And where are you going with this? You're going right to back. Well, I was going right back to a drink. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did, because I didn't do any work. Now, next time around, I didn't hit that pink cloud. I knew about the pink cloud the first time around. I said, no, this is BS. There's no pink cloud. There's only keep going.
Right.
Build your foundation.
And and a lot of things I didn't know much about addiction. I thought I did, but I didn't. And when they said that relapse, I'm like, well, I know I don't have to worry about relapse because they fixed my loved one and I'll keep them better. And then they mentioned PAWS, post-acute withdrawal syndrome. That's when the pink cloud starts turning purple and then it turns black. And they always say it's part of recovery. And my loved one, followed a group down in Florida, and they always said that relapse is part of not working your program. And there's just so much truth to that, because really, if you're working the program, like really working the program, you have probably 99.9% chance of continuing with your sobriety. If you're not giving it the time it needs, then I can see that relapse would be part of that process.
Yeah.
It's
no
a-
timeouts. No
Right.
timeouts in recovery. No coffee breaks. No. It's every day. Doesn't mean you have to go to meeting every day. Doesn't mean you have to, read 99 pages in the big book or the 12 and 12. But just doing what needs to be done to keep working on, like I had to work on my recovery. And that's, like I said before, it was like, doing less work is better than doing no work. As long as, one's working that program. And, it's like the steps, doing the step work, People, I did the steps in 3 weeks. And I'm like, how the hell could you do the steps in 3 weeks?
Right.
Could you make that list and all? And some people blitz right through it. Now, whether or not they're really sincere about it, I don't know. I have my thoughts about that, because it took me a long time to do my steps and make my, to step 4, writing down everything, and then 9, and, making my amends, and 10, going through the daily, searching my head, how did I do today? Did I hurt anyone? Did I help anyone? And I couldn't see that being done in a month or 6 months, but other people said they've done it. Well, good for them.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with, you know, I always say when I'm listening to speakers, there's a handful of people that are in it because of trauma, because of how they grew up or the trauma that they've been through. So many more people out there had the perfect life. They had, you know, they never needed for money. They never needed to worry about a bill. They, you know, went to the best schools, the best neighborhoods, the whole gamut. And then here we are, that who is the one struggling with alcoholism and drug addiction. And it's those people that have it all, but yet in their mind they just didn't feel comfortable with who they were, and they hide it. You know, they look at the people around them and, oh, look at that puppy, I guess I better ooh and ah because everybody else seems to be doing it and I just want to kick it, like. But I mean these are the stories that we hear in these meetings when we have speakers. You know, when we growing up, it's like, well, they're drinking because, you know, they lived in, you know, the projects. They, you know, had to eat out of trash cans, and like that's how we saw
Perception of it.
somebody struggling with addiction. You know, they were beaten by their parents, or they were left, you know, homeless. Like, that's what, you know, you perceive as somebody that's struggling with that type
Yeah.
of disease.
Get that, yeah.
And you don't
Branded.
realize
Yeah.
that, you know, Ivy League schools, you know,
Yeah.
you don't realize that they're 6-digit figure lawyers and doctors, and, you know, that is struggling with this. And it's just so baffling when you're hearing these stories. I'm like, wait a minute, like, were you abused by somebody in your family? Like, what do you mean? You just didn't feel comfortable in your body,
Yeah.
you know?
People get that perception of, like, you know, he's a drunk, he must have come from a real lower class,
Exactly.
lower income family.
You know, the hobos, you know, jumping the trains with
Yeah.
the stick
Yeah,
and the,
exactly,
with
yeah.
the little bag on
Yeah,
their, you
watching
know.
too many you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's always the drunk at the bar, you know, the same old guy, you know, and he stumbles out and he comes back the next day, you know, and you get that perception of that when, you know, the guy, like I said, got a 6-7 figure job, and, you know, you don't see him at the bar all the time, but he'll have his few cocktails and then he gets home and gets wasted. So it comes to, you know, how you get wasted. Doesn't matter. It's that you get wasted. Income has nothing to do with it.
No,
When
it doesn't.
When it grabs you, well, it's really hard for, you know.
Yep,
for you to
equal
get away from it.
opportunity destroyer.
Yeah.
It doesn't care who you are, where you come from. It will just eat right through you.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Now, Barb was at a barbecue and somebody handed her a beer, and her daughter jumped up and grabbed it. And good for your daughter, awesome. And yeah. Sometimes we have to avoid some of these situations, or at least avoid the people in those. Like Eric says, people, places, things. Especially when you're early into it. You know, that could have been a really
Disaster.
difficult situation.
Now, I get, you know, if people say, you want a drink? I tell them, you know, no. And they say, well, you know, if they push the issue, I said, listen, I can't handle it. If I have more than one drink, I'm going to get out of hand. I'm going to be, you know. So,
Right.
And if they push it, you know, I've had a couple of times, what are you, an alcoholic? And I say, yeah.
Yep.
Yes, I am. I'm an alcoholic. I can't handle my drink. boy, 9 times out of 10, does that change their attitude? They're like, oh, I'm sorry. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Went on this trip, hey, my kids drank. They're adults, they can handle it. Didn't bother me at all, because over the years I've built up to like the strength
Right.
just to watch everybody else drink and have it not bother me,
Right.
you know?
And it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time for that to be built up. So when you're in early recovery, I think the biggest thing you should do is just avoid it at all.
Yeah, I
You know.
isolated. I mean, like, only time I went out was to meetings or or work after my parole and all that other stuff was over with. You know, I didn't feel comfortable till I felt comfortable, and I said, well, I think I can do this now. And then when I did go out, it was mostly with people I knew who knew my situation.
Right.
A lot of times I went out with my kids. I talk with my kids all the time, but you know, they knew my situation, and they would even ask before they ordered a drink. I said, okay, if I order a drink, I said, yeah. I said, if I couldn't handle that situation, I wouldn't be here. And now it's just an afterthought, you know.
Right.
Hey, drink all you want. I don't care. Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
know?
Barb says she's not mad about it. She was just embarrassed. And you shouldn't be embarrassed.
No.
You don't need to be
No, not at
embarrassed.
all.
And I know it's, you know, you're just starting to get into those situations that, what's my name? That, you know, sometimes that's what happens. You know, it takes time for you to build up that strength to say, you know, I'm sorry, but I don't drink. I'm in recovery. And, you know, a lot of people will be like, good for you. And you just don't realize that there's so
Yeah.
many people out there. And it could be somebody handing you a beer that's in recovery themselves, but
Yeah.
they don't realize that you're in recovery. So just, you know, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And I know it'll take some time for you to understand that, but truly it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Not at all. Not at all.
And even the family members in the beginning, it's just like when they come out of recovery and you have that first, you know, holiday party, the family Christmas party, the Thanksgiving party, the, you know, whatever it is, whether it's the summer and it's barbecue time, whatever. It's really difficult for people to understand that they really need to be shielded from that. That is something that is very important for somebody in early recovery, is to be shielded from that so that they're not put into feeling embarrassed. You know what? And if you feel that the family needs to go, then and they need to make excuses for you, then so be it. They had a headache. They didn't want to come. Because the person in early recovery may not want anybody to know. So they had the trots. They couldn't come. Like, you know, whatever excuse you need to make.
Anonymity.
Yeah. And then if you are in a situation where the person in early recovery insists on going, the best thing they can do is, you know, their plus one should be either a sponsor or somebody strong in their recovery that can see that they're struggling and get them out of there and to a meeting, or the person talking to the family member or friend, whoever they should be with. Listen, if I say peanut butter, I'm just leaving. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm not making no excuses. It's just that I'm struggling and I'm tempted to take a drink, so I'm out of here. So, like, they're like the things, the tools that we learn in early recovery that need to be done, whether you're the person in recovery, whether you're the family member that is there for that person.
Yeah.
So, you know, keep those little things in mind. And I'm not sure, is that something they suggest when
Yeah.
you're in recovery.
Yeah, plan an escape plan before you go anywhere. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like when I get there, all of a sudden I'm going to think of this thing.
Right.
Especially early. Especially if you're early in recovery and you think you might have a problem, or you don't want to be surprised when you're there. Because you
Right.
can't, the way I looked at it anyway. I'm not going to make an escape plan once I get there, because I might not have an escape plan. I might get cornered or feel cornered and feel pressured that I might have to take that drink.
Except,
Doesn't
yeah.
matter what the reason is or what the excuse is, but if you plan ahead of time, especially with another person, I couldn't see me going anywhere by myself when I was in early recovery, especially without anybody who knew, I was in recovery, that I would be able to get out of that in time. I don't know if I had the strength.
Right.
Didn't test it either.
Right, and and when they're younger, when you're dealing with younger adults that are, 21 and up, 19,
Yeah.
whatever.
Peer pressure.
But peer pressure's there. Then you also have the, oh look, let's just put some vodka in his drink. Like, these are just things that you need to really be cautious about, not leaving a drink around so that somebody's tempted
Yeah.
to put something in it, just to mess with you, because that's the reality of
Yeah.
of the people
It's the way
today.
of the world too.
It is. People are just nuts today, and they just don't really. Even when we were going through it with my uncle, we used to make fun of it because he was only in it because the police made him be into it. Like, when you take out a street light, they kind of get a
Frown,
little
yeah.
pissed off about that, and then they say, listen, you're going to have to go through these classes, you're going to have your paper signed, so that's what he would do. Go to AA, get the paper signed.
Yeah.
We'd meet him outside, we go to the bar, we would drink. This is what happens. The people don't realize how serious it is. And, thank God that one day he just woke up and realized how serious it was. And he finally got it. And he was just so Mr. AA. He was so,
Yeah.
on top of his recovery. It was insane how he grasped it. And we would go into his car and he would have a saying of the day. And if we visited him at his apartment, there'd be the same saying on the refrigerator, on the bathroom mirror, everywhere.
Yeah.
And the places that he sat, if he got up to get a drink of water, there's the saying in his face. If he went for a ride, there's the saying. Whatever saying it would be, a verse from the Bible. It was always, every day he would do this. That was his new addiction, was placing verses or
Yeah,
slogans,
good,
or so whatever it takes for you to get it and to do well with it, you got to do what you got to do to stay well, to stay strong.
I remember, you just talk about getting paper signed. I remember doing how to do it a couple of times. Every meeting, get it signed. Every meeting, get it signed. And it wasn't just for the recovery house; it was for parole too. And
Right.
to bring my paper in, and I went past it. I did almost a year and a half, 2 years of it every day, making copies and getting it signed, getting it signed, getting it signed. Even though I didn't have to do it, I just did it anyway. Mm-hmm.
It holds yourself accountable.
Yeah.
You know?
Just, whatever, like she said, Lori said, whatever it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that one, up above and beyond, almost to the point of insanity. It's like, why are you doing this? Well, I don't
That's
know,
so much
just
better.
keep it going. So,
Yeah, so you just have to do it. You have to do what you need to do. That's the most important thing is, whatever step it takes for you to get where you need to be, where you want to be, that's the step you take.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter, whose opinion is thrown out there. The only thing that matters is that you're doing what you need to do for yourself. That's the most important.
Yeah, nobody opinion matter more than your own.
Exactly.
When you're doing the work, and you know, I knew when I was doing the work. I knew when things were starting to change. And it's because I was doing the work. I didn't have to fool anybody, and I didn't have to fool myself. As time went on, like I say over and over again, things began, get better. Life became better, but I had to, do what I had to do, no matter what it took. Stop whining and stop complaining. Just shut up and do what's got to be done. And I did it. Like I'm a much better place now.
And Barb, too, like, your family's not in support groups. They're not getting educated, so they don't understand what it takes for you to stay where you want to and need to be. And that's the bottom line. You need to stay strong and be strong for you. And, it's so much easier and better when the family's on board and they're getting the education that is needed as well. I know my loved one, it was like, can't you just take off tonight, so we can go out to dinner or, go to the movie or something? Like, you're always like working and meetings. Well, when it's early recovery, that's what they need. When they say 90 meetings, 90 days, they really mean 90 meetings, 90 days, because they're coming out of the rehab after waking up at 6 a.m., going to breakfast, going back, getting their chores in the house done, going to meeting, going to sessions, going to therapists, and it's the routine of every day, all day long. Routine. Now 28 days, now you're being released on day 29, and that's it.
That's when you gotta start working.
The repetitive stuff stops. So, night, Barb. Have a good night. Fast hangy, you guys. Okay, it says I gotta go. 6 a.m. comes fast. Thank you guys, and thank you, Larry. It works if you work it. Don't put yourself in situations that will trigger you. Absolutely, it's people that are educated, people that get educated because of a loved one's fight, their struggle, that's how it's normalized. When they start going to the support groups for the family members, for the friends, that's when it gets normalized. You'll never make a person that's not affected by addiction understand it.
Yeah.
And they will never normalize it. They will always see it as a moral failing. And it isn't until it affects you in such a way that you have no choice, that you need to help them, you need to fix them, so you get educated. You figure out what you can do to help. And that's when you find that it's something that can't be helped. And it's not it's not anything to do with you. It has to do with them, and they have to come up with their sobriety.
They need education. And I want to make a point about, talk about 90 meetings in 90 days. I heard people say, I made my 90 meetings in 30 days. Well, that's not the point. It's supposed to be 90 days.
Right.
One meeting a day for 90 days or 10 meetings a day for 90 days.
Right.
But I've heard so many people say, I did my 90 meetings in 30 days.
And that's all well and good, but you didn't train your brain to get that
Yeah.
90-day.
Yeah.
Because they say it's 120 days before you change your mindset, before you can get your mind to do what it needs to. And you only get 28 days in rehab.
Yeah.
For most rehabs, you only get 28 days. Well, it takes 120 days, so now you're 100 days short
Yeah.
of getting your brain, you know, in that realm of I need to get up, I need to do a meeting, I need to go to work, I need to come home, I need to eat dinner, I need to go to a meet. Like, you don't do that. So that's where the problems come in.
Rehab is not just about, it puts you in a pattern. It's not just about, oh, I'm cured and recovered. It's that everyday routine. It tries to help you not only talk about, you know, what's going on in your life, but it teaches like a routine every day. And I went from, rehab right to recovery house, and basically the same routine. You know, I taught my mind, you know, I got into the routine of doing what had to be done. Even simple stuff. You got to make your bed. You got to do your chores. You got to have a job. You got to go to meetings, and it's an everyday discipline routine. It's not just like, well, I can do this one day and I can do something else the next. No, it's the building your foundation. My sponsor said, you got to build your foundation on solid ground. He said that to me about 1,000 times. Not in mud, not in sand, because as you build it, it's going to fall over. You build it on nice solid rock. You build it higher, wider, and stronger. This way, when situations come, that foundation shakes. A couple pieces might fall off, but you still have your foundation basically there. And you got to, make it stronger, and don't ever stop building it. And that's pretty much what happened for me over the years. It's build it and don't, maintain it. Don't get cocky with it. Don't think it's going to stay that way, because that's when the cracks form, and before you know it, everything comes tumbling down, and guess where you are, back at square one again.
Yep.
And nobody wants that. I did that once. That's enough for me. That is enough for me. I know how bad it was, when I started drinking that second time around, and all the losses and the time and the family, and just anything that was negative. That's what happened to me, pretty much, until I started building it up again and realized that this is it. You do it this time, because there is no next time. Next time is death, because it's
Right.
going to be the end for me. I will not recover from another one. So I
No,
keep-
and that's something that, a lot of people don't realize. I don't have another recovery in me, because they don't realize the pain that you go through for that recovery, the pain in your body, the pain in your
Brain, yeah.
especially if it's a substance like heroin, and the pain, the nerve pain that causes, and trying to, get through that detox is, horrible. And you just don't realize that when that relapse comes and you've had a certain amount of time clean and sober, and you go back out and you start doing the same amount that you were doing and haven't built up that,
But the recovery,
stamina that,
Yeah.
that you built up prior to recovery. And, you're overdosing, you pray that somebody's there with Narcan. That's,
Yeah.
and that, I can't say that enough. Like, everybody should be carrying Narcan. I know here in Philadelphia and Bucks, you can pretty much get Narcan from any organization, or, somebody has it, and they give it out all the time down in Kensington. So I always have Narcan on me. And if I go to the beach, I put it in my cooler so that, the sun the heat doesn't, destroy it. I don't keep it in my car. I keep it on my person. And, if it's expired, you can still use it. You never know if you run into somebody that needs it.
Yeah,
You
I took
know.
it. I took it on my vacation. I took it. You know, I think like taking Narcan on a vacation. I just have it with me all the time. It's just a habit now that,
Right.
and especially well, I didn't deal with any people doing drugs, but there was a lot of drinking going on. Places I went, places I stayed, especially on the train, or a couple people, man, they put it away. The bar opened at 9:30 in the morning, and all day, especially if it's the all-day train trip, it was like some people. Wow, I was amazed how much they could put it away. Like I was telling people, oh, I'm having wine tasting. Fill the glass up, take the glass away, and leave the bottle for the guy, because he was, you might as well, because you're going to do the whole bottle anyway. Let me try this white. Let me try this red. Let me try this rosé.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's around you all the time, especially now. Like Pennsylvania was pretty good because you couldn't go into Wawa. You couldn't go into, Walmart. You couldn't go into stores, the grocery store to get alcohol. But now they're all opening up. Walmart hasn't started yet, but all the grocery stores, the first thing you do, walk in the door, and there's the liquor, department. You can get beer or wine. Still haven't put the hard stuff out, but in California they got, what do they call them, handles, like the minute you walk in the door of Jack Daniels, it's like a billboard bottle. And Marge, they do have these billboards out there. They have signs, they have literature everywhere on support groups, and for the families and for the person struggling. It's a matter of, I'm not going to go there. My neighbor might see me. Well, there's a perfect support group right there when you have somebody in the neighborhood that's going to the same support meeting as you. Like, there's support, and people are just as the person that is struggling. The family members, they have a tendency to be embarrassed and, hide it from everybody. And they don't realize that the neighbors already know. The neighbors knew before you because the neighbors saw you puking your guts up in the bushes before you went in the house, or, they saw you buying the drugs out front when you thought they were out, letting the dog go to the bathroom. Like, this is, the neighbors find out well before you have a clue.
And the staggering too.
Yeah.
They know. They know. And well, looking for a support group, you go to computer, just use the phone. You can find, just do, go there, say support group for whatever. And in Canada, weed is legal. You can smoke it anywhere. There's smoke shops there, and
Yeah.
but stuff like that doesn't bother me now.
Right, and that's hard. Like sporting events, that's race car driving. That's all you saw were beer, billboards and everything, and tobacco. I think tobacco's gone, but I think they still have Sons of Anarchy, my favorite show ever. I just started watching it again for the 12th time, and between AIDS commercials and tequila commercials and whiskey, it's just like they're the three main commercials you see during the whole show. It's like crazy.
Yeah, and the big joke too is like, drink this, drink that, but drink responsibly. Like, people who drink responsibly don't need to see that, and people who don't drink responsibly,
don't care.
They don't care. They're not going to see that. Just and cigarette commercials and stuff like that. No, this could be hazardous. No kidding. No kidding, could be hazardous to your health. Gambling problem? Well, call this number. Yeah, who's going to call that number?
Exactly.
Yeah, the gambler's going to gamble, and they're not going to see the half-inch thing there with the phone number that's so small anyway.
Exactly.
1-800-GAMBLERS. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so true. It's, until you're ready to accept the recovery, it's not going to be, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
When they say, if you have a problem drinking, like, hey, hey, let's do a
Yeah.
shot to that one.
Let's just cover their own rear ends. That's
Yeah,
all. Yeah.
and that's what it comes down to, and it's a matter of there's a drinking game. Every time we see a commercial that says if you have a problem drinking, we do shots. Like
Yeah.
that is alcoholism.
Yeah.
Like it's just life. It's
Yeah.
it's just life. And I was the one out there making fun of all those addict jokes and everything because I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I follow a lot of pages, and the jokes that they put on there are hysterical, but I get offended by it. Even though it's somebody in recovery putting it on there, I get offended. Like, no, why would you put that there? Like, it's funny, but still I get that weird, like, yeah, we probably shouldn't have made fun like that. Like, but, recovery's not all doom and gloom,
Right.
You're gonna get the jokes, you're gonna get, the drink handed to you, you're gonna get, teased. It's just
Yeah.
how you respond to it that's important.
Buzz drinking is impaired drinking, and they shoot a guy staggering out of the bar with his keys, and this could happen, and that could happen. And there's one commercial where, he's driving, and all behind him is this flood of beer following him, until he hits something, or you could kill somebody.
Uh-huh.
What
yeah.
happened, man? Could they even see that commercial?
Right.
It's like Buzz drinking, and even
Just
when
say
you-
no.
Just say, oh, that was the worst.
Just say no.
Yeah. Just
Yeah.
say no. Yeah.
I had somebody, I have another page that I had started a long time ago, 8 years ago, and it was overdose awareness, and somebody put in there, why don't you just tell them no? Because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
That's number one. And you can fry as many eggs in a pan, not gonna work,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. Your
Yeah.
brain on drugs.
yeah. And I'm sorry if you're a DARE follower, like, I'm sorry, DARE does not work. DARE teaches our youth what drug to take to mask what feeling you want to mask. That's what they teach you. Or at least that's what they research when they're trying to make that poster so that you can win the poster of the year for DARE. We have to do better with our schools. We have to do peer support. We have to bring people in that are in recovery, that have lived the life, and that
Yeah.
have lost everything and built it back. They have to see what drugs do to you, what alcohol does to you, if you don't know that you have a brain disorder. Anybody can pick up a drink at 21. Most pick it up by 13. But you can't tell if you have an addictive brain until the substance hits that receptor. And then it's off to the races.
Yeah. They have to be really right up front with this. No coding it, no saying, well, this is not good and that's bad for you. Let's see, not only the person is in recovery, but make them, let them see the low end, how this person got there, or see a person at their bottom. Not in person, but you could watch on film. They could make a documentary about that too, to see like how the bottom. I feel it's got to be a harsh reality. It's got to be there. It is. Is this the life you want to start? Get started. Here, this person was a great guy, great person and all. Had a couple drinks, got hooked on it, and down the slide he went. And this is how he is today. And this is what he did to get himself back up. But, you want to take the shortcut, look at how this person got there, and be aware of how this person got there. And maybe instead of going down and up, you just go straight across.
I mean, look at it like at 13. Okay, here we go back to, the best school, the best home, the best neighborhood, the best of clothes, the best of everything in the world. And now you're hanging out at the basketball court over the weekend, and somebody brings some booze from the house and somebody is drinking it. Okay, yes, they chose to experiment. They chose to see what it's like, what it tastes like, and that hit the back of their throat, and they swallowed that, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is the nastiest stuff I ever tasted. But I'm not going to show anybody that it's nasty. I'm going to keep drinking it because everybody else is. And after a couple, swigs of it, that receptor's opening up. And that body that was not feeling normal like everybody else, that wasn't happy like everybody else, but they always portrayed themselves as being very happy, now has such a feeling of just peace and calm.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to want to put it down because they like that feeling. That's the first step of alcoholism.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's legal.
Yeah.
Okay, you may not start at a legal age, but it's legal. So now you're at a legal age. You're not doing it just on the weekends. Now you're just
Yeah.
sitting in the bar and you are just drinking until you can't even see.
Yeah. It holds your hand in the beginning, and then it vice grips, and you can't let go.
Exactly.
I'm
And-
here to stay. I'm demon alcohol, like the song goes.
Exactly. And you're talking substance. Your substance, 85%, I don't know what the percentage is now because of all of this, the restraint on the opiates right now, but back in the day, 85% of those that were living on the street homeless with an opiate addiction was started because of a broken leg, a car accident, something that the doctors prescribed for the pain. And we were always like, oh, maybe they'll give us the good stuff. Like, what does the good stuff mean? If you have an addictive brain and it hits that receptor, you're not going to take it as prescribed. You're going to take it as prescribed in the beginning, but
Yeah, it
you're
feels
not
good.
going to continue it. You're going to abuse it, and you're going to use it, and you're going to end up where you don't want to be. And that's where 85% of our loved ones end up homeless and on the streets doing things that they did not want to do, because nobody starts out saying, oh, I want to be an addict, I want to be an alcoholic when I grow up. It's not. It's further from the truth. And we have to be vigilant and explaining to our youth that you can't go in and have an MRI done or a CAT scan done and they say, listen, I wouldn't do drugs or alcohol because you have an addictive brain.
Yeah.
They can't see that. It doesn't come up on those things.
You can feel that. You can feel that one. Because I know it when, drinking got really bad with me. If I would, not have a drink for a while, I could just feel my mind wanting it, and I could feel it in my body that I have to have this. I was going crazy. I was like, I gotta go get it. I gotta go get it. And whatever it took, I went out and got it, no matter what it was, how
Yeah.
cheap,
And just as the addict or the alcoholic, the loved ones are addicted to our loved one.
Yeah.
And we're chasing them to try and stop it. And we can't. It's just something we can't do. We can lock them up in a cage, but the minute they find a way out, they're going
Yeah.
right back to where they were. And that's why it's so important to get the mental health piece you know, because you have people that are addicted due to trauma, due to PTSD, due to, you know, many different traumas, seeing so many different traumas. And that all needs to be focused on. You know, the rehab's going to fix the detox and help you get started on the road to recovery. But if you're not dealing with the mental aspect as well, then there's a piece that's missing, which will take you right back to the use.
We need support. Mm-hmm. You know, like I say, you know, can't fool your mind. Your mind, I said that before. You know, if you trained that you want this, you got to have it, and all. You know, your mind will start giving you all kinds of wonderful reasons why you should go back and do this. Because the first time, hey, Lara, 3 years, you know, around 3 years, you're clean. You could do this now. You're a wonderful person. You're strong. You're good. You're that. And yeah. You know, what a lie that was. And you know, I needed help from the outside. I needed people in my corner. I needed a program. You know, I found that out the hard way the second time around. So I stuck with the program and progressed to where I am now. And I'm always going to need the program. Always going to need that program. And you know, I like it. There's no, you know, there's really not a day anymore of frustration, because I know it's part of my routine. Monday, Wednesday, Fridays in-person meeting, 9 o'clock in the morning. I get up, I get there early. You know, I open up the place. I have a key now for the place. And myself and another gentleman, we go in there, we'll open up, you know. If the coffee commitment person doesn't show up, one of us will do the coffee. If the chair person doesn't show up, I'll chair. And it's all part of that involvement now. It's just ingrained in me. Or go to my Zoom meetings every day, and you know, if I have something to say, I'll say it. If not, I'll just sit back and let the people who are newer in recovery say what they have to say, because they need to speak more than I do. They heard my spiel before. They know, you know, where I'm coming from. But the new people, whether they have a week, a month, or a year or two, they need to, you know, share, progress, and you know, and learn, and get into that habit of sharing what's, you know, what's bothering them or what's good for them. What you know, what the positive things are happening in recovery for them.
Yeah.
And you know, as they progress and all, you know, then you get the next batch of people who come in, and slowly we're all like that big family. I hate to use that word, but we are. You know, and we all try to help each other. If I have, like I said, if I have something to say, I'll say. If not, 9 times out of 10, I don't talk. I let everybody else speak. And there are nights where, you know, if it's slow, they'll pick people out of, you know, whoever's there. If there's like 50 people, sometimes there's 110 people at some Zoom meetings. And they'll, you know, they'll pick people out of the gallery. You know, if you don't want to speak, you put an X up. But, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know, if they pick me, I'll speak. I love to talk about me. I'm my favorite subject.
We have 5 minutes left, guys. If there is something that you want to share, you need to share it now. We will be back next week. We will be doing chapter, I think, 7 on the Smart Recovery. Hopefully it will be much cooler. Fingers crossed. Tomorrow night we have the dance from 7 to 11 at Georgine's. If you haven't gotten a ticket, not sure if there's any tickets left, but check in. Great night. I can't wait.
Yeah,
We're going to
me
have a
either.
blast.
It's gonna be fun.
Jackson is so excited. She can't wait to get her grass skirt on and start dancing. And, you know, it's such a great time to see so many people come together and sober and having a blast.
Yeah, we have a great time.
A blast.
I mean, you never think that everybody there was sober.
Exactly.
Carry on like kids. And the dancing, and I love to dance. I almost there the whole time dancing. I'm not stuffing my face, I'm dancing on the floor. and it's great. I'm telling you, it's a great time.
Yep. And Eric, enjoy that grandbaby, both of them. And if you guys need any help, if you guys are struggling for any reason, feel free to give me a call at 267-737-8031. I will get back to you as soon as possible if I do not answer. Just leave your name and your phone number or send a text so that I can get back to you right away. I hope everybody has a great week. We're going to have, I hope, a good week. I hope we're going to have a cooler week because, whoo,
Yeah,
it has been
ridiculous, yeah.
toasty. And I think we have one more day of horrible heat, and then it's supposed to be pretty nice.
Air
So,
conditioning better be working at George Eads, I tell you.
yeah. So, I think it's raining out now. I keep hearing thunder, it sounds like.
Good now?
Yeah.
Outside?
Yeah. So, everybody, I know we only have a couple minutes left, but it is so hot in here. We are going to be signing off. So everybody have a great week. See you back here next Friday, 9 to 10:30.
For 10:28 if it's really hot.
If it's really hot. So, and if you do tune in and we're not here at 9, check my page on Facebook, and we will let you know when we'll be starting. If Rich is running late, we might start a little later. So, be back here next Friday. Everybody have a great night. Remember, recovery works if you work it.
Oh, you plagiarized it. Okay, okay. Have a good night,
Peace
everybody.
out, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
You walked into my life when I thought I wasn't the right kind of man. You taught me true love wasn't just part of someone else's selfish, faded plan. Not this time, this rhyme is all about you, girl. Something tells me I'm in love with you. Open up the door and say hello now. Not expecting me, expecting you. Two hearts beat as one. The inquiry's done. I found emotion through your devotion. You bring me to life. Never had anyone, found anyone, thought anyone loved someone like me. Someone like me.